Bravo, Commander. You went out of your way to preserve the legacy of a fine artist, and did so despite the diplomatic ramifications. We lizards commend you.
You may have gone against us. You may think you have won, Commander, but you have done no such thing. What is left of Claudella's works is locked away in so-called museums, away from the eyes of every undead. Not a single one of us will enter these places ever again, or be stricken down by the Seven.
It has come to my attention, Commander, that the government is spending an awful lot of money funding scholarships for each and every child that shows the mildest sparkle of intelligence. But isn't it the parents' responsibility to pay for their education? It is they who should invest in their offspring's future, not the royal treasury.
Withhold money from education? Madness! A stupid imp can blow himself up well enough, but it takes a scientist to blow up all the others.
Normally, I agree with any measure that saves us gold, but this time I don't. Not every dwarf is born rich, but I'll be damned if he doesn't get the chance to die rich, and education is the key. Maths, economy, finance, they need to learn.
A proper education is a right, not a luxury. Prospera shows a shocking disregard for those of small means. We need to give all children equal chances, not deprive them of knowledge because their parents lack the necessary coin.
Why would the state pump money into education indeed? As if children have so much to learn. They need to study the 7 scriptures and there's an end to it. The rest is heretical rot.
So you'll keep spending cash on a bunch of students who'll drink the night away and waste the taxpayers' contributions? You might as well sponsor dwarven carnivals and flatly admit you don't know what to do with your riches.
Good. And there's an end to Prospera's twaddle. Of course I can pay for the best education in the world, even if I had 50 toddlers round the hearth. But if the state will pay for them, why in the hell would I say no to that?
Well done, Commander. Believe it or not, but I too stemmed from humble beginnings. And if it weren't for a generous scholarship, I wouldn't stand here today. You wouldn't want that now, would you?
There, that's settled. I've 15 scamps running around at home, and they cost me enough as it is.
So you're saying there is more to mortal understanding than the words of the 7? Yet another example of how lacking the views are of those not yet undead.
Good news, Commander! The undead riots have been squelched, and the many artworks of Claudella that escaped their pitiful ire have been placed in various museums where they're guarded round the clock. That'll show those intolerant bastards! This is a great victory for mankind everywhere. A victory of nature over nurture. Of freedom over oppression. The undead need to know one can be gay and held in high regard nonetheless. Let that be the lesson. This whole business was about art, of course, but still. Let that be the lesson.
Let's have a drink.
Commander, could you please refrain from blowing hot and cold? We're not...
How's that jetpack?
There is no reason to doubt your insight, sir.
We're getting pinned here.
Calculation depleted.
By the seven, I could use a drink. And not because I'm starting to sound like that bone bag of a Yorick. That ledger, dear gods, the havoc it has caused. Praise be that some had the smarts to insist all agreements be written down in cipher.
By Grom, the giant's codpiece, what an uproar that ledger's caused. Unseen in history. Those whose name has been disgraced have fled the realm, and all the others are lapping up every last sordid detail with the gusto of a dwarf bent backwards in a vat of ale. And you've yet to hear the best part. All those scandalized dukes and barons have sworn revenge. Rumours of assassination abound thicker than an inbred ogre. I'll be rid of my accursed father once and for all. Darn and blast it! Can't you let one little assassination slide? You brought him to the brink of ruin, and now that we can give him that last tiny push, you crawl back like a hound kicked by its master. Fine, do as you must, but you can find another bed tonight. Saving lives gives me a headache.
Lies, all lies. Ravage my revolvers if it's true what they say. No, forget I said that. A momentary lapse of reason, no more. What will my wife say? Oh dear, oh dear.
Oh, victory.
What? My...
I've been meaning to thank you, Commander, for acting upon Catherine's request. My new wedges please me in more ways than one. She has a knack for such issues, and though she's rather bellicose in expressing them, I hope you'll heed them all the same.
By the seven, such heresy that hellcat of a Catherine spouts. Championing the right of our women to vote is sacrilege, pure and simple. They'd beat her and put her behind bars where I come from.
Just a little while ago, Commander, you broke a lance for women aboard this ship, and now I need you to break another of a far more serious, shocking, and I fear resilient kind. I'm talking of an injustice that could only have gone by unhindered in a land under the greasy thumb of a man as oblivious to the plight of his mothers, sisters, and lovers as the worm is to the vast world around it. It is my fondest hope that you shall prove to be a worm, not a worm, by uprooting one of the many, but perhaps most glaring crimes against womankind that is institutionalized among the undead. A blight upon Rivellon. That is their ill-called civilization. led by old farts, dry of bone and dry of spirit, that say females must be subservient because the divines decree it so. Rot! They put whatever words will secure their pathetic hold to despotic hegemony in the Seven's mouths. But the vote, Commander, can change everything. Undead women can be candidates for government, but they themselves aren't allowed to vote, and therefore never get elected. You then shall either undo this gross travesty, this ignominious perversion, or by refusal admit you two are nothing but a barren weed, afraid to be plucked, ridiculed, and cast aside by willful women, just like those skeletal cowards. The least one can do for them. Better late than never, wouldn't you say, Commander?
There's no more expensive a commodity than a woman, Commander. And now you've increased their salaries as well. My stomach turns when I eye the royal coffers empty at such a rate. Catherine be damned. Give her a finger and she'll take the whole hand. Well, I got a finger to give her. God's darn it.
You try.
A bold move, Commander, to give undead women the vote, but an inspired one as well. To be pulled from behind the cooking fires and cast into the maelstrom of office will be daunting for them, but I have every faith they'll do all right.
How dare you, Commander, to interfere with the will of the gods? Now it is women, emotional, irrational, vain, who will decide upon matters of state. We'll be a laughingstock, downtrodden by the Seven. All because of you. Commander, despite the imps' frivolous nature, they are surprisingly strict and severe in the classroom. In fact, they don't shy away from corporal punishment, with amazing results to show for it. Everybody knows they have the best and brightest students. Therefore, let's make this a nationwide practice, I say. Give every teacher a cat o' seven tails, one for each of the gods.
Of course! What better way to motivate a student than to beat him within an inch of his life? Once more, Yorick herds us all along the tranquil path to enlightenment. Stupid skeletal sadist.
If Yorick thinks I'll support his bid to have our children whipped by teachers, he has another thing coming. It'll take you a good long time to catch a dumb dwarf, thank you very much. And if a pupil is being unruly, a good tongue lashing should suffice to set him straight.
If the imps have to resort to corporal punishment to establish a bit of decorum, I think that simply makes them bad educators. We lizards will have none of such unwarranted harshness.
What can I say, Commander? We imps are the best and the brightest indeed. But because we're born as an unruly and undisciplined lot, we have to use force for our own good. Pleasant to know, though, the undead think we set a good example.
Discipline is one of the fundamental virtues as dictated by the Seven, Commander, and it is to be found along the length of a cane. By denying us the use of...
You ease my mind, Commander. Teachers should impart wisdom, not brandish the whip.
Very good, Commander. Besides, any dwarf who doesn't show diligence in economy class sees his savings sink on the stock market, and that hurts him more than any whip could.
There, reason saves the day. For if a tutor is no more than a thug, a teacher he can never be.
If you don't adopt our methods, that's just bad news for the others. But it's a bit insulting you disapprove of our whipping ways. No pain, no gain, Commander. And you've gained so much from us imps.
You fight with cunning.
The battle is lost and won, Commander. Victory and defeat make for incestuous lovers after the undead elections. The women triumphed, swept aside their toothless tyrants, wielding the brooms they were forced to sweep the floors with. Alas, that they do so very little with what they have been given, being as slavishly devoted to the divines as their earthly enslavers before them. But who knows? Change may yet come, and if it does, you will have been its instigator.
To be in the...
Thelor's cruel and petty, but what he does, most in a position of power would do as well. When something threatens your might, you grind it into the dust. Though you don't have to do it quite so slowly, or enjoy it quite as much as he does. My ideas of torture don't even exceed withholding someone a frothy cup of ale longer than an hour.
Now you've gone and done it, my pussy cakes. I told you this would happen. That bleeding heart of yours had to swoop in and plead on my father's behalf, didn't it? Well, your troops have saved the bastard's life and now reprisals have begun. Those that could have fled the country, but anyone still in his realm, an airtime opponent of his, now faces torture and execution. Dear friends of mine are being held in his dungeons as we speak, trapped in a nightmare of blood, piss and mutilation. And why? Because you did not allow nature to take its course. Assassination should have been that bastard's lot. Hard to make a decrepit old worm look weaker, but I'll certainly give it a bigger shot than an imp's king cannon. Now for a spot of intrigue and heroics. To the rescue I fly!
My heart bleeds for Lady Ida, Commander. It must be hellish to know your own father is wreaking havoc among friends and family. That old dwarf is out of control. Can nothing be done?
We can do better.
I don't think that...
you've been talking to Oberon, Commander, know he is grossly overacting, in my humble opinion. In a remote town, far away from proper civilization, perhaps it is true tensions between undead and elves could manifest in some sort of temporary violence, but mass killings? By the Seven, no. That I cannot believe.
Commander, I have formally accused the undead in the city of Harrow Ridge of genocide and brought the matter before the council. The situation there is frightful. Fanatics among the undead, are there any other, have been purging the unclean. That is to say, the elven community. There have been patrols in the night, empty houses in the morning, and loose earth in ditches near the edges of the city. Scandalous! As is the negligence shown by General Edmund. He was given the task of regulating the town according to your laws. But of course he's not lifted a finger to stop this secretive slaughter because of his well-known contempt for the elves.
If there is one favor you can do for me, Commander, it's to invite Oberon up on one of the observation decks, give him a nudge, and let gravity prove elves can indeed not fly. Then at least he can pester me no more with his aggravating accusations of professional misconduct. He's been prattling on and on about some tiff between some of his sorry sort and a couple of undead as hot-headed as they are airheaded. He even talks of genocide, if you can believe it. Melodramatic little man, isn't he? All of this is supposed to be happening in some rural hamlet newly conquered. No more than a collection of pigsties and whorehouses, I imagine, and I bet you can hardly tell the difference. Yes, I was officially given the responsibility to oversee matters there, but some local undead officer said he'd do the job, and I was all the more glad for it. As you can see, Oberon missed the mark once more. I can hardly be charged for misconduct when I haven't even conducted anything, now can I, Commander? Hop to it! You have before you the greatest general in Rivellon, and you're ordering him to waste his time on a bunch of peasants that are having trouble playing nice. Very well, Commander. Perhaps later I can attend to more of this urgent business. I'm sure there's loads of kittens stuck in trees and toddlers in want of their teddies.
What a
By the Seven, Commander, what has happened in the town of Harrow Ridge is truly abominable. Such crimes committed by my kinsmen. I can hardly believe it. Those elves, they must have staged unspeakable acts of sacrilege to madden them so. They must have... Why else would they? Heresy gross and foul.
The phrase too little, too late comes to mind, Commander. But it seems Edmund did his duty in the end. The nightmare of Harrow Ridge vanished come the dawn, and those responsible for the killings have themselves been rendered unto death. Justice is hereby done, and I am furthermore glad to say Edmund apologized for his earlier disbelief in my accusations towards the undead. I hope they too have learned a lesson. They've had a horrid example of what their own religious mania may lead to.
Commander, an elf woman was caught smuggling the vile narcotic Drudenai into an undead city. Our laws dictate she must hang within the span of 2 days, but Oberon is making a fuss and wants to extradite her. You know how elves are. They'll just let her walk. But you'll let us hang her, won't you?
How dare Yorick demand the death of an elf? If she has done wrong, it is up to her kin to judge her. Those barbarian undead kill people for the slightest infraction. It's ghastly.
I wouldn't let a child-molesting mass murderer be judged by the bloody undead, Commander, let alone a misguided elven lass, far from home and far out of her depth. Let the elves pass judgment, just like Oberon asks.
Whereas Yorick has a point, it is his laws that have been broken. I would render this woman unto the elves all the same. She deserves a lawyer, a proper defense rather than a priest and a charade of last rites.
The undead do stage spectacular executions, Commander. We'll follow them through scrying stones. You wouldn't take away our Sunday afternoon funfair, would you? Thousands of imps will bet on whether she'll break her neck or not upon falling from the scaffold.
Gods have mercy on her soul, Commander. She'll swing and be stripped bare by carrion birds. Maybe the Seven will look down on her skeletal remains with favor and grant her the perpetuity of the bone. As you can tell, we're honoring her, really.
Harrow Ridge. A harrowing place if ever there was one, Commander. When Oberon first spoke of its supposed horrors, I dismissed them as the ravings of yet another counselor shouting for attention. But it was all damnably true. The undead, they were slaughtering each and every elf they could get their bony, sordid claws on. In the name of the Seven. Lunatics, the lot of them. But no skeleton stirs there anymore. They tasted their own medicine by my very blade. The law of the land I set in place and left a kindly old elven landowner as mayor. They'll rebuild their houses lost to zealots' torches, and forget as best as they might the Knights of Blood. To think the idea of a few dead elves made me chuckle as I travelled there. Quite another thing to see 'em lying in the ditches, row on row, gored and mangled. Yet no sooner had my troops restored order than their survivor spirits soared once more, and they swore to reshape their stricken little society. I'll think kindlier of elves in future, Commander. They're a stout lot over there in Harrow Ridge. Good luck to them.
Were that...
Lady Ida's move to free her friends from Thelaw's cells may have looked good on paper, Commander, but diplomatically, it was a fiasco. Now, we have a raving king who denies his daughter. A first in dwarven history. People will think we're fickle as elves. Perish the thought.
It's over, Miss Weekins. Every last bond between me and my father has been broken, severed with a cleaver, and I am well past caring. Those whom I hold dear and were kept as torture puppets in his dungeons, I have dragged from those horrid pits in one piece, if it were still possible. So enraged was he by my betrayal, he disinherited and renounced me. No longer his daughter. Fool. Life and liberty, such are the blessings his so-called punishment leaves me with. A dark chapter I close. Finally, I can let go of all-consuming hate. He is as indifferent to me as the rain upon the rocks. I am now at peace with myself. And you, my lovely love muffin.
So, Lady Ida defied her father once more and hauled her chums out of hell, did she? Well, good for her. Let Theodore rant and rage. His days are numbered. Sooner or later, Sir Falstaff and the likes will ensure he has an accident of sorts. Or, I don't know, a dwarf from a doorknob.
Bloody...
Henry, how his vagaries amuse me. A woman that rejects him must therefore not be interested in men, so goes his logic. As if one can blame any woman romanced by that buffoon to abstain from men forever.
You know I don't hold a high opinion of men in general, Commander. But Henry does go out of his way to reaffirm what some would call my prejudices. I'm glad Scarlet saw the light and kicked him out of her bed. Even a girl as frivolous as her can do infinitely better.
Sometimes I wonder, my little tummy tickler, why on earth you do it all. War, ambition. We could fly off, you and I, to some remote island where no one can find us. Leave behind throne and crown, the both of us. Just a fancy, I suppose, but sometimes... Oh, never mind.
What the hell is the matter with Scarlet? Here we're having some extracurricular horizontal recreation, and suddenly she bails on me. I tell you, she must have knocked her head against the door and started liking girls all of a sudden. No woman denies herself my affections from one moment to the next.
You remain true to your...
Damn that loudmouth, Henry. I'll emasculate him with a pair of pincers if he doesn't hold his tongue. We've been having a bit of fun, you know. Casual-like, but now I told him that the fun's over, he's telling everyone I must be into girls all of a sudden because that's the only explanation for rejecting a true blue man like him. Filthy pig. How dare he? How? But... Oh, fudge, what's the use? Why would I stand here and pretend before the dragon, the ruler of worlds? Never have I said this to anyone, Commander, but it is true. I am a lesbian. There. The die has been cast. When I was 16, you see, I first fell in love with another girl. But when my parents found out, they were furious. Threatened to disown me and sent me to military school. They vowed that if I'd show any sign of being attracted to another girl ever again, they'd never more show me kindness or affection. That is the secret I've lived with ever since. I force myself to sleep with men, but it is all a farce. A hollow way of ever so shallowly satisfying hidden, unacknowledged needs. I was forced to live a life of lies, and believe me, I can handle it, but I can't bear to have my real nature dangled in front of me as a means of mockery. Thank you, Commander. To have your support means a great deal to me, more than you can imagine. Perhaps one day I'll be free. Free to be who I am. We'll see.
Construction underway, Commander. Construction in progress.
Go on, give me a target.
Like the wind.
Outer turret completed. We're out of recruits, Commander. Construction in progress. Anti-ground turret completed.
You found me, did you?
Construction underway, Commander. It'll be built in a jiffy. It'll be built in a jiffy.
You set the trap, I'll make the kill. Without a trace.
Anti-ground turret completed. The enemy can carry troops right across the seas with their transports, Commander.
Quick and painless.
Armors can transport troops and grenadiers, so don't be deceived by numbers. Your unit will roll out momentarily, Commander. Watch your footing, Commander. Enemy armors can deploy routines now. That's impossible, Commander. That's impossible, Commander.
I've noticed a peculiar change in Scarlet, Commander. She seems happier somehow, less prone to take rash decisions in combat. She's almost of value to us. Wouldn't that be a treat?
I know Scarlet shared something with you, Commander. Something deeply personal, and it's not hard for me to guess what that something was. It gladdens me to see that you have treated her with respect. So very unmanly of you. That's a compliment, by the way.
Commander, we dwarves would like to place imp surgeons in the hospitals of the realm. With their delicate tools and techniques, they can remove kidneys, lungs, parts of liver, and more from willing donors. These volunteer donors would be paid well, and the harvested organs will save the lives of many a wounded soldier.
A terrible idea that would lead to abuse in no time. Unscrupulous souls will round up the enfeebled from among the dregs of society and force them into selling their very innards. Don't open this amoral cesspit, Commander.
If we raise enough awareness about the risks involved and ensure people donate out of their own accord, this might well be a good plan. Like Falstaff says, many lives could be saved.
A dangerous proposal indeed, Commander. You are well aware we imps have very few scruples. Before you know it, we'll build elf and lizard farms. Bread for donation, bread for money.
We undead have little knowledge of internal organs. But what we lack in physical substance we make up for in mental agility. And it is my opinion that the dwarven proposal seems a sound one. No objections here, Commander.
Wonderful! Our dear imp physicians will be plucking organs like apples come autumn in no time. And if you're ever short on cash, Commander, I'm quite sure a dragon's kidney would fetch millions on the market.
Well done. Now we just need to ensure those imps learn to work with bone as well as they do with flesh. I have a brittle knee I wouldn't mind seeing replaced.
On your head be it, Commander. I have a nephew who'll start building breeding farms the very instant he hears he may.
Excellent. Those crafty imps will most certainly work wonders. And for the state to support its wounded warriors so diligently is a blessing indeed.
When I see your face, it is like a beacon of light, Commander. Such is the relief that I have a person to confide in, that it feels as if I have been pushing a boulder uphill all my life, and that now I can finally let it go. Watch it tumble downhill and out of sight. Glory be to the Emperor whom I may call my friend.
Don't worry, Commander. I didn't breathe another word about Scarlet and her ways. It's a relief to know I was right all along, though. When a woman says no to me, we all know what that means. Not interested in men. Period.
A toast to...
On a pale horse. Construction underway, Commander. Death hungers. built in a jiffy. The grave be their destiny. Let them off me now.
What do you think of my constitutional draft, Commander? Is it not a pinnacle of progress? No longer will we have just the formal list of 6. No. All of the civilized races will be deemed equal before every court and institution in the realm. It will be a great stride forward along the long road of perfecting our society. And I'm certain already it has the dragon's backing.
Folly has taken hold of Prospera, Commander. Senselessness instilled by an overtly prolonged exposure to the vulgar vagaries of lesser counselors. Words like peace, stability, respect, cooperation are being flounced about as if they really mean anything beyond these walls, as if they are anything more than philosophical placebos intended to make politicians feel important. The daft woman wants to draft a unifying constitution that actually says, we hold this truth to be self-evident, that all the races are created equal. Equal? She must be more demented than a vegetarian cannibal. Now, I may drink with a dwarf from time to time, if there be no other company. I may parley with an imp if it's technobabble I'm after. But to call these beings my equals is a sea-spanning bridge too far. And I'd like you to stop Prospera's proposal dead in its tracks. If that is how it must be, reality will have to be the instrument that shall shatter the dreams of fiction. For a work of fiction, this Constitution is, Commander. Dead letter among a dead litter of all the races, each with the other's knives in their backs, now and forever.
I wonder why Prospera would suggest such a radical reform of law, Commander. Why she would want it in writing that all of us are each other's equals. It's not a bad idea per se, but I wonder if she hasn't some ulterior motive. Remember that these lizards are all more slippery than an eel in a barrel of snot.
Combat and can't.
What are my colleagues in such an uproar for? Surely they must realize that with equality comes responsibility. Is a tax increase to put them on a par with lizards and dwarves really such a steep price to pay for the position my constitution lifts them up to? Short-sighted creatures, the lot of them. Commander, the undead have lost what brains they don't have in the first place and taken to domesticating the fang bear. These creatures are about twice the size of regular bears, hunt in packs like wolves, and are extremely dangerous. Already, several of these pets have devoured passers-by in the streets, and not to mention the distress caused by the sickening odor left behind when they do their business. They are a menace in about a dozen ways, and I therefore vote that every last domesticated fang bear be put down.
The pox on that cold-hearted lizard, Commander. Fang bears are cute and hardly snack on imps anymore once properly trained. We even use them as mounts in organised races. Granted, it's not a good race unless 3/4 of the riders and their steeds never make it to the finish line, but that's all part of the experience.
Every time one of those giant-toothed monstrosities draws near, I fear it's in the mood for a dwarfsicle. Listen to dear Prospera, Commander. Put 'em all down.
Commander, while I appreciate safety concerns, these animals were domesticated and can never be released into the wilderness again. Capture and train no new ones, I agree with that. But to slaughter all those that were unwisely attempted to be trained? No. That would be horrible murder.
So Prospera would have me put down Cuddles? Never. Fangbears are affectionate beasts and make for fantastic guardians. That they never harm an undead because we lack flesh on our bones was never even a consideration for our domestication program.
You are a dragon, and I therefore understand your affinity for dangerous creatures, Commander. But you are putting oxen-sized foxes among the hens, expecting no harmed fowl. We shall see.
Wonderful, charming. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to put a bet on a certain fang bear, wide as a castle gate, running in the 3 o'clock derby. He's a dead cert, Commander, and you can take that literally.
Very good, Commander. I'm sure there are more sensible solutions than slaughter. Perhaps we could simply muzzle these fangbears. Maybe we could muzzle Prospera too while we're at it.
What is this damnable folly? I need fear for my very life each time I walk the streets because a bunch of skeletons adopt bloodthirsty colossi as pets. I'll never leave the Raven no more, Commander. You sure you want that on your conscience?
7 bless your merciful soul, Commander. I don't know what I'd do without my Cuddles. His blood-stained fur, his glimmering white teeth. He's a darling, that fangbear.
Oh, my prophetic soul, Commander. Let them sign 1,000 declarations of unity and equality. Each one of them rips open new wounds and makes old ones bleed. No sooner was Prospera's draft turned into law that the true ramifications of her constitution became clear, and all those base-born councillors fought like starved hyenas for a hunk of meat. Delightful to look upon. Truly heartwarming. To be proven right, it has long been a given to me, but never do I quite tire of it. Such is the satisfaction of superiority, Commander. I hope you enjoy it too, once in a while, when the stars are right.
Dear me, I haven't slept a wink, Commander. What a ruckus these councillors were making all through the night. Roaring dwarfs, squeaking imps. 'Twas like an orcish sing-along ceremony in there. Why is it that talk of morality always ends up in mayhem? Ethics in bedlam. Let them decide the color of curtains in town halls or what type of pie should be served during what festival. Takes them just as long, but doesn't get them quite so riled up.
I'd like to nail Prospera's split tongue to a rocket and set it aimed for a bent-over bog giant. Sign, she said. You'll be respected like dwarfs, she said. Well, now we have to pay like dwarves too, and that certainly doesn't make me feel special. Equality? Pish-posh. An imp's better than a lizard anyway, and always has been.
It has come to my attention an elven archduke is crossing the line in his capacity as witch hunter. Scarlet knows all the details and insisted she'd be the one to inform you. Please take swift action, for it would be a terrible sin to let him persist an instant longer.
Ah, esteemed Commander. You know, all this is an awful bore, but it would seem some unsavory truths are being spread about a fine elven youth called Narkasim. There's nothing to them, of course, but we'd like to avoid all scandal, even if in the end said scandal would be no more than a slanderous lie. To that end, I have been bid by several of the richest of my kin to offer you a substantial gift of gold. Indeed, it is our pleasure to do so, and we hope it may sway you not to pay any attention whatsoever to the falsehoods attributed to Archduke Narkasim. There. You have but to accept, and everything shall be settled.
Commander, I have an urgent request that, in light of my recent disclosure to you of a personal nature, will, I'm sure, not fall on deaf ears. Prospera has received anonymous letters about an elf archduke by the name of Narkasim. You may have heard of him as a hunter of necromancers, but there is other prey he stalks. He's executing innocents in ways so horrible as to defy description. Whether they be men, women, elves, lizards, whatever. If they're gay, Commander, factually merely suspected to be or pointed out by wicked souls, they are quickly denounced as practitioners of forbidden magic and burned alive, boiled alive, impaled, quartered, whatever takes his sick fancy. No matter how evil his deeds, this witch hunter enjoys the protection of elven nobility, his family being one of the oldest and most respected in the realm. Already, Oberon is gathering a great sum of money to buy your blindness to his deeds. I beg you, Commander, do not take him up on his offer. Oh, it's such a relief to hear you speak those words. I couldn't sleep for hearing the screams of his victims echoing in my mind, knowing full well he'd do the same to me. May the dungeon he'll rot in boast a bored torture master hankering for a spot of practice.
Were that I were...
Bloody...
Who will bend?
On the trail!
The best way to see Rivalon is through the crosshairs of my double barrel. The Emperor shows us the way.
I admit I do enjoy the privileges of nobility, Commander, but sometimes their excesses repulse me. A rat like Narkasim should be made to suffer. He should repent, not revel in riches. But such is his lucky lot, no matter how unfair and undeserved.
I still don't understand why you didn't accept our generous gift, Commander. Now you stand empty-handed, and young Narkasim has suffered an unjust blow to his reputation. Except among the undead, perhaps. I'll thank you to reel that Scarlet Woman in and ensure this goes no further.
Commander, we imps think it is a terrible shame and waste that the consumption of orc meat is outlawed. All because of the elves, of course. Damn them! Look, we already use these creatures like we use oxen and horses. So why not eat them as well? It's cheap meat, so many of your poor citizens would only be too glad for the opportunity.
Commander, orcs are vile and cruel, but we in turn treat them vilely and cruelly. I am against their use as slaves in the first place, so no, I don't condone their consumption. They may not be one of the recognized civilized races, but they have a language and a culture of sorts. Eating them would make us no better than ogres or giants, creatures we fear exactly because of their lack of culinary scruples.
Trinculo is quite right, Commander. Orc meat is cheap and nutritious, or so I'm told. I myself would never touch the stuff, but there's fortunes to be made selling it to those who can't afford pork, beef, or mutton. It would be an act of philanthropy, Commander.
Mr. Shortfuse is correct. It is we elves who sought to abolish the sordid practice of eating orcs some decades ago, and we succeeded on the basis of morality. Let us not revert to the practices of less enlightened days. Agreed, Commander?
The orc is a filthy beast, Commander, immoral and impure. Depravity has been bred into them over countless generations. Partake in their flesh, and their impurity will taint your blood. Beware, Commander. Beware of this corruption.
Blimey, what a tradition we could have installed, Commander. Every time an orc slave dies, we could have had a barbecue. But no, they'll just go to waste on the funeral pyre as usual. So sad.
Well done, Commander. If we want to call ourselves civilized, we must constantly endeavor to earn the title. We have earned it today. Let us earn it again tomorrow.
I'd have thought you'd be more charitable, Commander. Orcs will die whether we give them a hand or not. And think of all those hungry street urchins. Think of their wide eyes. How they'd praise your name for being allowed to savor a tender piece of orc. Alas, Commander, alas.
I'm glad you do indeed agree with me, Commander. Trinculo's proposition was a particularly ghoulish one, and I hope to leave this notion behind us once and for all, even if wild orcs will gladly eat what elf they can get their claws on.
Let the spirit of orcs freely stalk the blood of the innocent, and the end of the Empire would have been predestined, Commander. It has been averted. Blessing of the Seven be upon thee.
Ugh, this is all too frustrating, Commander. They arrested Narkasim, but he wasn't thrown in a dungeon. He's just confined to a palace out in the country where he lives in opulent luxury and is reported to have already killed a servant because he looked a bit effeminate, with no repercussions as a matter of course. That's just it. We gay people, we haven't the rights others enjoy. That creep can kill us willy-nilly, and all he gets coming his way is a slap on the wrist and a bloody castle to gallivant in. He'll probably be free in a month's time, stripped of his functions, sure, but ready to resume his murder spree. This must end, Commander. A line must be drawn. You have shown me support before, so please do so again. Let me announce to the world I am a proud lesbian woman, and that by order of the Emperor, I am bid to execute the wretch that undid so many of my brothers and sisters. But the law favors him, not me. Ever have I been the victim of petty rules and bywords, whereas he, once more, will benefit by them? I was ready to shout from the rooftops who I, Scarlet, really am. Ready to strike a blow for justice. I understand you, Commander, but then again, maybe I don't.
Your latest victory.
Scarlet's manifest has humbled us all, Commander. How could we elves, who have always supported the rights of our gay brethren, be so deceived by the titles of nobility? In any case, Narcosim may be an archduke still, but that doesn't enable him to bend the bars he's locked behind, or give flavor to the stale bread and moat water he is served.
Looks like everything worked out for the best, at least as far as Scarlet is concerned. I was quite impressed by the quality of her writing. Frankly, I didn't expect her to have a way with words at all, but passion, it seems, brought out the poet hidden inside. She's a fine woman, an example to be mimicked, and I wish her all the best.
You forbade me to kill Narcosim, Commander, but I couldn't just stand by and do nothing. So I dropped my sword and reached for the pen. I wrote a pamphlet of sorts in which I made public that I am gay, in which I out that vile elf for what he really is, in which I decry the injustice that befalls my kind. It ran in the Rivellon Times and actually caused quite a stir. I had expected derision, I really did. But to my surprise, my statement gained me sympathy and my cause attention. It was an eye-opener. Oberon even apologized to me for having wanted to cover up the Archduke's abominations. He's in a proper dungeon now, devoid of light and luxury. I am vindicated, Commander. I am free. I may not always have had your support, but in the end, I clawed my way to where I am now by myself, and I think I've earned the right to be proud.
I'd have thought the Scarlet I know would have settled her beef with that elven son of a whore by means of the blade. Still, the article she wrote pretty much got her the same result, even if it was a bit emotional for my tastes. Brave of her too to announce she's into women so publicly. But I'll bet she'll still have a hankering after old Henry from time to time. She could bring one of her lady friends along if that makes her feel more at ease. I really don't mind at all.
Quite a show our little Scarlet's staged. The little general that could after all, isn't she? About to throw away wasted years of molten men and waste them on wine and women instead. Miraculous how things change. Thus passes the glory of the world.
So Scarlet has finally revealed for all to hear who she really is then. Good. One less woman that will fall prey to the paws of men. Too bad that elven duke still lives, though. I'd have slowly lowered him onto a red-hot stake. But that's just me.
done, Commander. The first of your dastardly siblings has fallen to your might. This victory will send terror leaping down the spines of your remaining opponents. Once more, we set an important step in the direction of victory. Bravo!
I hear Trinculo's daughter is about to be married. He's over the moon, which I quite understand. But isn't she, well, very, very young? Seems a bit odd to me. Girls her age should be playing with dolls, not husbands.
Smouldering muskets, Commander. So kind of you to come and congratulate me. My daughter's about to marry quite the catch. Richest imp in the borough and manufacturer of build-it-yourself home cannons. One lucky little lady.
Commander, a matter has arisen that impels me to seek your benevolence. Once more, a young girl is made to suffer at the hands of male overlords. It's these horrid arranged marriages. Long have they been a thorn in my side, and now one of your own counselors, that toad of a Trinculo, is giving away his daughter like she was a pretty piece of furniture to some decrepit old duke because the alliance will benefit him financially. The girl's 12, for 7's sake. And that grey goat she must marry 100 if he's a day. It's detestable. It's vile. But oh, why am I even talking to you? You're just the same. Picked the princess that sat on the biggest pot of gold and moved on. Well, I've had it. That girl stuck in your chamber is beyond saving, but Trinculo's daughter is not. Impede this wedding, Commander, right this instant. Excellent. And add age restrictions as well. If parents try to coerce her, a 20-year-old can stand up to them better than a mere girl. Well done, Commander. Not...
You triumphed.
Victory sure take...
Another battle lost.